Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to begin by saying hello. We're so excited to be with you. I am Mara Huber, and I am Associate Dean for Undergraduate Research and Experiential Learning at the University at Buffalo. And I direct our Experiential Learning Network. And tonight I am joined by a team of UB students, and we will also have a technology partner joining us. And we're going to be talking to you about some really exciting work that we're doing around global projects with a focus on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we're going to be sure to leave plenty of time at the end, hopefully for some dialogue and some questions. You can certainly put them in the chat, but we will leave time towards the end for those. So let's go ahead and get started. Nia, you can hit the next slide, please. This is our team. As I mentioned, we have 3 engineering students who are joining us as part of their intramural project, and we will be joined by Michael Brewster as well, and my name is Mara Huber. Okay, I am going to get started, next slide, by framing out our work. And I want to start with an observation that I'm sure you share at your universities and institutions wherever you are, and that is that the demand for high-impact global engagement is increasing. It's expanding rapidly. And we have been seeing, certainly throughout the pandemic, that students want to get close. They want to get close to the world. They want to get close to challenges, and they want to make a tangible impact. So they actually want to do. They want to take their learning and apply it through projects and through engagement. And we have been finding that the UN Sustainable Development Goals are powerful tools to support this type of project-based learning. And we're going to share a couple of ways that we're utilizing these. Another lesson we have learned that we're going to share with you tonight is that NGOs are really valuable partners in doing this work. So all over the world, there are NGOs doing the work of the SDGs within communities. And by connecting the students with these NGOs, it allows them to contextualize their learning, but to have a real tangible impact. And we're also seeing that this is the case with emerging technologies. So we're all looking at breakthrough technologies that are making a real change with regard to the SDGs. So by connecting those in as well, we're seeing really transformative results. Next slide, please. Okay, so before we share the projects, and the students are going to talk about their actual work, I want to share a little about the model. Because when we're talking about these transformative projects, and we heard about others during the keynote, and I'm sure throughout this entire conference, you're going to be hearing examples of these amazing projects that have huge potential. But we need models to support them in their diversity, and we need ways to sort of leverage the individual impact towards these broader gains. So at the University of Buffalo, we created something called a project portal. And we launched this back in 2019, so it hasn't been very long. But we launched it as a comprehensive digital system for connecting students with mentored projects of all kinds. So it can accommodate virtually any type of project. But we use digital badges to facilitate student engagement, as well as for incentivization and assessment. So I'll show you just quickly how this works, and then you can certainly Google the ELN project portal, or we can share information at the end about the model. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you want to open up this space of projects and allow students to get close to ecosystems, to get close to the SDGs and communities, we need to be quite expansive in our definition. And so to be included in our project portal, a project only needs 3 things. First, it needs to be mentored by somebody at our university. It needs to be collaborative, so students are actively involved in the project. And it needs to have some tangible outcome that is meaningful to some identified audience. So with this definition, virtually any, and students can also customize their own projects based on getting close to the SDGs, which we'll show you how that works as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is one of the, I think, kind of unique parts of our model. Students begin by selecting a digital badge. So I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with digital badges, but they're icons that students earn. But in our system, we have 6 right now: mentored research, community engagement, creative works, innovation. But the 2 that we're going to focus on for the purpose of this presentation are global collaboration and sustainability. So students select a badge to work towards that resonates with the nature of their project. And this helps incentivize their engagement so that they can move through towards actually earning the badge. When they earn the badge, they actually put it on their social media, maybe LinkedIn or digital resume. And if somebody clicks on it, they actually get to see that final project. So it serves as a mini portfolio of sorts. And it also contains metadata. So it's really powerful in terms of assessment. Okay, next slide. Okay, so as students are moving through their projects, and everybody's working on different, unique projects, they're all going through the same process, which we call PEARL. So PEARL is our engagement framework that helps facilitate students through their project. It stands for PREPARE, which is about context setting, setting intentions, skill development, engaging and adding value. That's the project itself. And then reflecting, connecting their experience back to their academic and professional goals, and leveraging, thinking about how they can build broader impacts. These are all online modules with prompts and assignments, collecting the data as they go and moving them towards earning the badge. Next slide, please. So let's bring this back to the SDGs. In our model, the SDGs can support all aspects of projects, but we're going to share 2 specific categories with you today. The first is using the SDGs for preparation, and then connecting students with NGOs. So all of our students begin by exploring the SDGs, starting with the big goals, and then zooming in on a particular NGO or topic of focus and making those connections with their particular interest as they start to frame out a project. However, the SDGs can also help students create their own projects and innovate and think about possibilities as they explore these topics and get close to challenges and technologies. Next slide. So that is our model. It's an exciting model. We have been piloting it. We finished our first full year of implementation. We had over 700 students go through our project portal, and we have some really exciting data. But we want to show you how we bring it to life with our global projects using the SDGs. So we're going to start with this really amazing project that is really just getting started. It continues to evolve every day in really exciting ways. And it got started with a group of students who were participating in an engineering intramural project, and they're going to tell you about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Nia.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Nia Gilliam. I am a team member on the Latrine project through UB Engineering Intramurals. And so what this Intramurals is a co-curricular program that's run through UB School of Engineering, and it invites industry partners and community organizations to submit real-world problems that groups of students can work on over the course of the academic year. And the goal of these intramurals is for students to develop skills and competencies through working on real-world problems while engaging with external partners and stakeholders. And so specifically for our challenge with the latrine project, we were tasked with designing or selecting a low-cost latrine system that was sustainable, would utilize a minimal amount of water, and would improve the quality of life for the community in Latrines, Tanzania. And this community is very rural. And a community survey was done towards the beginning of the project, and it had shown that of the 5 schools that were in the surrounding villages in Latrines, none of them had functional latrines. And so this could have detrimental implications to the public health, to school attendance, especially for girls, and for sustainability. And the current team that responded to this challenge is composed of environmental and chemical engineering students. So we have Scott Koya, myself, Nia Gilliam, Ashley Perez, and Charlotte Rutnick. And over the course of the year, we had a great opportunity to work with two awesome NGOs, Friendly Water for the World, whose mission is to produce technologies that increase access to essential resources such as clean water, and Hope Revival Children's Organization, whose goal is to support its most vulnerable community members through programs and social entrepreneurship initiatives. And this challenge aligns well with United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 6 of clean water and sanitation. And according to the United Nations, there's at least 892 million people still practice open defecation, and 2.4 billion people lack access to basic sanitation services, such as toilets or latrines. So this is an issue that impacts many people, so it's definitely worth addressing. And so we had over this academic year, we were able to culminate a final design based on essentially 3 phases. In the first phase, we met with the community and the partners. We got to understand and know the community a bit better. And this was all done virtually, so this was on Zoom. And we also, the students, we went through some developmental and professional skills so we could better address the challenge. And then in phase 2, there was a lot of research and design. So as we were deciding on what latrine system to use, we were going through sketches and eventually 3D fusion drawings. And over the months, we were presenting, communicating with the community in Tanzania on progress reports and updates. And then in phase 3, we had the final presentation of the structure that we had come up with. And we ultimately decided with a reassessment. And we brought on an additional partner to help us with that, and Michael Brewster. And we also had done some fundraising towards the end of the project as well. And so throughout the project, we mainly had 2 methods that we went with: the engineering case analysis and design problem solving. These were both derived by Dr. Andrew Olenek, who's an assistant professor at UB, and he is the director of experiential learning programs for the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. And so with the engineering case analysis, we used this towards the beginning of the project, and this helped us with supporting our decisions and recommendations that we had offered to the community. And currently, we're more using the design problem solving method, and this allows us to provide more engineered solutions that we can provide. And so next, Ashley will talk about the workflow and the actual structure.
Hi, everyone. So although there are many interesting aspects of this project, as mentioned by Mara and Nia, perhaps the most interesting is that it was done completely over Zoom. And without us having the ability to access any in-person design labs, classrooms, or materials, you're probably wondering, okay, well, how do you carry out a design project without being in person? But to answer that, we would have to go back to September 2020, when the team was initially brought on to the project. And we had hopes of being in person at some point during that fall semester, during that first half or the second half of 2020. And we surely thought that by the spring of 2021, we would be completely in person. But as many of you know, this was not the case whatsoever. So how did we do that? Many emails, group chats, collaborative documents, a lot of Google Docs and Google Slides, and of course, Zoom calls. It's worth mentioning, though, that some aspect of our project was always going to be remote, as we are working with Friendly Water for the World and Hope Revival Children's Organization, which are located. The Hope Revival Children's Organization is about 7,500 miles away from Buffalo, where we are mainly located, and the Friendly Water for the World contact was located in Washington. So we were really able to demonstrate our technical communication skills to overcome various language and technology barriers. And so this helped us get ready for events like this, where we had to showcase the importance of the project and how you can still accomplish a project like this without being in person. Next slide. Okay, so you know that we worked and spent much of our time doing research on the project to kind of get that background information out of the way. There are many geotechnical considerations we had to look into, surveys from the community and kind of communication with them to see what they need and what they would like the project to look like. So we were able to adapt the eco-sand latrine model you see here. It is primarily already used in India and parts of Southern Africa, but there are some highlights that I want to talk about. So the main point of the eco-sand model is that it is a waterless system. So in more rural areas where there's not an adequate amount of water or access to water, they mostly resort to women and young children, mainly girls, that go and get water. This could take up to hours a day in pretty strenuous conditions. So we knew we had to address this. And so by using a waterless system, we can keep women and young girls in school or in work and focused on their studies rather than, walking kilometers a day trying to get water for the community and for their families. Another thing I want to highlight is the brick foundation. So you can see on the different images, the staircase is all made out of bricks, as well as the foundational walls of the structure. We decided to use bricks because the community already has a brick making machine, which creates interlocking bricks and we decided to use this machine rather than cement or other types of material to build the actual structure, because this would bolster the local economy and keep, local labor high, as well as the community being able to design and redesign the structure as they see fit in order to prevent them from constantly needing outside resources to help them. Another aspect I want to talk about is the fact that in Rwanda, the local industry or the local economy is run off of the agricultural industry. So we want to incorporate some ideas of how to help the agricultural industry while still meeting the needs of the community. And so we were able to design 2 ways to produce compost for the agriculture. So we have a fecal collection system, which if you look in the middle picture, there's a tank on the bottom and that collects all the fecal waste. And after about a year, that can be used as manure for the agriculture, as well as the water collection tanks, which you can see on the left picture. So we would collect rainwater as well as urine collection, and this could be later used, after being processed, can be used for irrigation of the surrounding land. Another aspect of this model is hygiene. We're still in the middle of a global pandemic, so we knew we had to address hygiene. As Nia mentioned, there are many different problems that come about with open defecation. So the ways that we incorporated hygiene are the sink system, as well as the cleansing hole. And that kind of acts like a bidet system. And this prevents the need of toilet paper in the system. So as we mentioned, this is an ongoing project, so we are open to any feedback you guys have. But as for right now, Charlotte's gonna talk a little bit about the budget and fundraising and the importance of fundraising in a project like this.
Hello. Our team completed the design, but the partner, Stephen Marwa, the executive director of NGO Hope Revival, was pleased with the design and asked for our help getting this built. This meant that we had to begin fundraising. He provided us a budget, which allowed us to get a look at what the cost to build the latrine would be in rural Tanzania. The materials are the bulk of the budget, which costs over $1,200. This includes the cost of the bricks, which can be seen highlighted here. Next slide. With the budget that Stephen gave us, there was an initial fundraising goal of $1,500. With this in mind, we created a GoFundMe for the project that we shared with our networks to reach as many people as possible. Through this method, we raised $830. Before our goal was reached, we received a donation from an external partner that covered the cost of the bricks and materials. This allowed us more freedom with our existing funds, giving us the opportunity to add more innovation. Next slide.
Mara, I think you're muted.
All right, guys, sorry about that. My microphone would not unmute. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. So I wanted to step in and say how wonderful it was to support the students in this project. They were able to complete the assignment. They learned a lot and they grew through the process. But when the partner asked for it to be built, it sort of took it to a new level. It was suddenly above the radar and no longer just a project. And so we really learned at that point that as projects evolve and they move to the next level, it's really important that you have the right partners at the table and that you have the right metrics of success before you move forward. So we were so lucky to bring in an external partner who had both the technology background as well as managing these large scale projects. So at this time, I would like to introduce Michael Brewster, who I believe is with us. Michael, are you with us? Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I don't see him in the list of people.
Okay, can you move to the next slide he was on, and so I will keep going. Michael, if you join us, you have to just interrupt and someone let me know he's with us. So Michael came to the table and learned about the project and had some concerns about the quality of the design as it related to the community. And so he very quickly got involved and talked about some specific features of concern. And they dealt with the quality of the bricks and making sure that the durability was there, as well as design features such as ventilation and lighting, controlling the odor because this was going to be used in a very hot climate, as well as getting the input of different perspectives and different people in the community, such as women who are going to be using the latrine and the people who are going to be cleaning and caring for the latrine. And so where we are with this project right now is it's being redesigned. We've made connections with the School of Architecture at the University of Buffalo. So they're actually innovating with the same types of materials and the same technology that our partners in Tanzania have, as well as making connections with engineering. So this project continues to evolve in really exciting ways. And these students really were the ones who came up with the idea and got it started. And having Michael at the table is taking this to the next level. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so with Michael in our participating in our projects, we have been exploring other SDGs as well. And so at this time, I want to move to the second category of projects we wanted to share with you, which are around ocean science. And it happens to be the decade of the ocean. Next slide, please. Okay, so through Michael's work with Virginia Tech University, he was working with some female students who were in ocean sciences. They happened to be studying ocean engineering. And they shared their own experiences being women in these programs and feeling like they didn't have access to other women engineers, experiential learning opportunities, and they were really concerned about the climate that they found themselves in and the implications for diversifying the field. And so this led to the development of a project that was specifically focused on increasing diversity in ocean engineering. And so a group of female students are actively exploring other programs in this space, making contact with ocean engineers, and starting a community, including new experiential learning opportunities to connect women and other students who don't normally have access to these. So here's an example of direct experiences related to an SDG, opening up opportunities that are very exciting. Next slide, please. Okay, so we had this topic of ocean science that was resonating with students, and we thought, what would students at the University of Buffalo do with this topic? So we went ahead and added it to our portal. Hopefully you'll have a chance to take a look at our portal. I'll put the website up in a minute. But we simply put the topics, ocean engineering, digital technology, and the blue economy. So we framed out some of these really interesting lenses associated with ocean science. And we just simply invited students in without any specific projects even identified. Okay, so this was purely, let's see if this resonates with students. And we got really personal requests to be part of this. Students who had stories about why this topic resonated with them. And as we speak, we have students working on web-based apps, looking at changing behavior of fishing based on data coming in related to the reefs, an architectural project looking at a floating classroom, and computer modeling. And so here's an example of the SDGs being a catalyst for innovation and creativity and speaking directly to students in terms of their own project interests. All right, next slide, please. So having Michael at the table, and I apologize, he's having trouble with technology as well, but hopefully I can do a good job talking about both the benefits of bringing him to the table and I think what he's getting out of the experience as well. As a technology person, he's an engineer, he's an innovator. He works in this space of creativity and hires people, right, to help develop new ideas and innovations. And so he's really seeing experiential learning and these projects and having young minds and young innovators at the table being a really great space for innovation and play. And connecting students with ecosystems, connecting them with ideas and challenges is really important. But Michael would tell you if he was here the importance of quality, the importance of having a clear process and having content experts, especially when these projects get elevated to such significance. Next slide, please. As we start to wrap this up and hopefully have some dialogue, I want to talk about impacts and I want to talk about assessment, right? Because those of us who work in higher education are constantly having to show our impact and we're having to assess. Assessment with high impact projects is quite exciting because the data show our students are growing, right? Their professional competencies are increasing, their sense of agency, and to see how they grow and how they're leveraging these experiences is quite extraordinary. But I want to share with you that the impacts for our NGOs are also quite amazing. We have been working with our Tanzanian partners since for over 5 years. I've been working with Tanzania partners since 2009. And the partner that the students mentioned, Stephen Marwa and HRCO, they are leveraging these projects. They are actually starting a center for experiential learning of their own. So they are building, they're building momentum, they're building on collaboration in the technologies, and they're really stretching themselves as they develop new models. So we are seeing growth and we are seeing generativity in the sense that the projects continue to develop. Charlotte was not involved in the original team that was doing the intramurals, but she came on board and she's a graduate student. So we can have new students come on, we can have new faculty, and we can have new partners, which is quite extraordinary. Next slide, please. Okay, so the final slide before we wrap up is this idea of leveraging the potential. Where can we go with this? So just in that opening session, I couldn't help being impressed and inspired, right, by what schools are doing. And if we watch all the recordings, or if we could be in all of these sessions, I think we would all be sort of overcome with the promise. But one of the problems is, how do we leverage our collective impact, right? Both in terms of helping our students, but also the communities with which we are engaging. We have learned that project harvesting, which is what I call it, is a thing, right? Being able to frame projects and invite students in ways that are going to lead to measurable, meaningful impacts is really exciting, especially when you realize that the best projects come from challenges, they come from needs, and they come from opportunities. So helping our students get close is a real challenge, I think, that we all should embrace. The importance of preparation, context setting, setting intentions, providing skills, those are all really, really important. We've learned that through Pearl. The P, the prepare phase, is really important. And the SDGs are just so amazingly powerful. And there's so much now that students can dive into independently or through classes, connecting with different programs of study, open education resources. There's really so much out of there. I want to suggest that digital badges are really worth considering. We have a chapter that just came out this past week that goes into depth in terms of our model. I'll put my email up. I would be happy to share it with you. But digital badges can help facilitate and can help scale and can help assess and incentivize. So as I said, we've had over 700 students go through our model just this past year. And it's highly scalable, and that's because of the digital badges. And the students have something to show for their engagement at the end. They can show off their work, and we can study how they showcase and how they built on it. I talked to you about the power of Pearl and global partnerships. We are finding that every relationship can catalyze an infinite number of projects. And it's through those relationships that you already have and the relationships that you can build that really serve as a springboard for student engagement and growth. And so this is such an exciting area that we're just getting started with, and we're happy to share it with you. And it looks like we have a few minutes for questions. I will go ahead and put my email in the chat, but hopefully you have some questions for the students or some comments, or perhaps sharing some of the work that you might be doing at your schools as well. Thank you. Questions? I can't really see anybody, so I think we'll have to put it maybe in the chat. And then I can read them out loud. Questions, anyone? For our students? All right, while you're gathering your questions, then I'm going to make the students talk and ask you what you have gotten out of this. If you had to sort of say one thing that you've taken away from this experience. Nia, I'm going to put you on the spot because you are graduated and now you're out in the working world. So what can you share about being part of this experience?
It's definitely taught me about working in a team, because that's definitely something that I do in my current job. It's helped me with working on a project, the whole, the beginning aspects, like the 3 phases that we talked about, where you're just getting familiar with the project, the background and all of that, and then getting more into the specifics, and then actually going into mobilization and construction and all of that.
All right, Ashley, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think this project really allowed us to do some like hands-on activities and like troubleshoot outside of the classroom. You know, like this isn't a type of project that has one answer and like you do one equation, like, all right, that's the project. But you know, it wasn't like a straight path to get to this point where we are right now. So I think that kind of showed us a lot.
Yeah, we're actually finding that that circuitous path is actually one of the most valuable things for students. The struggle, right? And feeling a little overwhelmed and not sure how you're going to make it work, but finding a way forward, right? And that's actually something that students just really sort of benefit from. Charlotte, you want to add something?
I would say it helped me with like figuring out how to follow through with ideas and not just like have all these thoughts of, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, but actually like having complete thoughts that I have to prepare and then follow through with.
And commit, right?
Yeah,
and execute, right? Once you commit, the train's left the station. There's a question about whether something like this can be done in the United States. What's really interesting is, I don't know if you picked up, but the students talked about the partner using a brick press. And that's a brick press that we were able to get through fundraising for our partner. So it uses local soil, a little bit of cement, and labor strength to create these interlocking bricks. So we were able to get a similar press for our own University of Buffalo students. And so through Michael's contributions in getting engaged with our university, our School of Architecture students will have a chance to sort of play around with the recipe of brick using similar materials to what our partners are doing. So when you talk about collaboration, how exciting, right? To not only be able to collaborate and talk to one another, but to use similar resources and similar technologies and really see what you can do together. So yes, there are going to be lots of variations of this happening at UB, and who knows where it will go. In Tanzania, they're interested in developing technologies and developing structures that can be implemented throughout the region. So they're very interested in scale as well. So scale is something that stays sort of front of mind. Other questions? We have just a couple minutes left. Anything else? Students, do you want to share anything else? Okay, well then I guess we will close the session and thank everybody for their attention. Thanks, everyone.